The purpose here is to demonstrate agentic capabilities throughout the product development lifecycle. I'm actually going to start by showing how we can augment the product manager work with agents. So what you're going to see here is a very common. So this is a product that has a list of customers. And when you go into these companies, there's a really basic detail about the company. There was a story that was wrote, Linear, which is a platform that is equivalent to Jira. And this story basically says we need to add the missing customer information from the CRM fields. So you get some detail on this story, but not a lot. And this is something that is very common, is that stories sit in our backlog and they do not have a lot of context. And so this story reads that we have a number of different fields that we sank from our customer CRM. And the examples is website, country, monthly recurring revenue, so on and so forth. We would like to show all that detail in the customer detail page, which is this page that I'm showing you right now. And so the idea is that we're going to use an agent that is a product management agent, but is also an agent that has access to the source code of this application. And we're going to ask that product manager agent to do an exploration of the source code and come up with a strategy to implement this feature end to end. And then once that is done, when the stories are created, then we're going to move on and use the Scrum Master and the development agents to implement that story. And that's what I'm going to demo right now. I got a command set up, which is /PM. And what's going to happen right now is I'm just going to let an input here be the key of the ID of this task. Okay. And I'm going to let it run. And what's going to happen is that the product manager agent is going to look at this story. He's going to complete this story. So he's going to add a lot of detail. And he's also going to break down this story into a number of different components, usually like 3 or 4. We don't want to overwhelm the system, but usually 3 or 4 different stories, so that then the other AI development agents, when they come in and pick up this task, they already have a lot of context and they know exactly what they need to do to implement this story. So right now, what you're seeing here is the product manager agent just spin up. He's using the MCP server for Linear, and he's going to read the story. And hopefully in just a couple of seconds, a minute max, we're going to see the story get updated and subtasks being created. Okay, so yeah, you can see that, as we go, the product manager is actually exploring the code base. And the definition of this product manager is actually a technical product manager. So it's a combination of product manager and code base explorer. The idea is that the product manager is not that technical, but it's technical enough to understand how a certain feature will fit the existing code base. And that's going to give it the ability to write the story with a lot more detail than otherwise would be possible. Okay, so right now what happened was that the agent just wrote the first story. So he got the very short and undetailed specification that we had and created a complete user story. So the way I like my user stories is that they should be very, very complete and both technical and product information. And so that's how I've coded these agents. And you can see here the user story now becomes, as a customer success manager, I want to see comprehensive CRM synced customer information directly on the customer detail page, and so on and so forth. Current state discovery, these are the fields that we have. These are the locations of the SQL migrations, and this is the CRM sync system, and so on and so forth. So you got a lot of technical detail, and that's the way I like it. That's why I called it the technical product manager. And then you have, the task definition, but then you also have, the acceptance criteria. So for example, database and data fetching, because the agent has access to the code, he already knows that, we have all of the required fields, and that the CRM syncs populates all fields correctly, and so on and so forth. And so there's a number of things here, and he's also creating the subtasks. You can see there's already 4 subtasks, so he's working really fast. And, there's a couple of things that I find that is really interesting, which is visual designs, UI components, recommendations, edge cases. So for example, handles company with no CRM sync, so all fields will be new. Internationalization, this is really important as well. Reference files to follow, There's a number of really interesting things here that will make a developer's life really easy. Success metrics, of course, it's really important. And if we go into one of these sub stories, you're going to see that these stories are also going to have significant detail, not as much as a top level story, but they're going to have significant detail. And the idea is that, based on these stories, this is going to be one for the front end, one for the back end, kind of that methodology. And, the sub agents, which you're going to see in a minute, they're going to use all of this information to then implement the feature. And you go from a very basic spec and you mix that with agentic technology and access to the source code, and you get this kind of magic. So this is really exciting. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're actually going to start development. Once again, I got a command. It's called start task. And, what this is going to do is basically kick off a development of task and its subtasks. And it's going to use an agent that I call project manager. And the project manager will delegate the activities to agents that might be of interest in the scope of this development. Yeah, okay. Inverted 208. Okay. And we're gonna delegate the task. And so we're fetching the information about the issue. Yeah, so now the main agent is going to call the project manager. And the project manager is going to set up the project tracking file, which is this file right here, task 208.json. And it's going to start calling the different development agents to start implementing the code. We'll also try to see the changes as they happen. You might notice that I have on the left-hand side, I have the application running. And so whatever changes are going to happen to the code should be reflected in real time on the left screen. Okay, so it seems like the task file is done. And this file is actually what the project manager is going to use to keep track of the changes. Okay, so now it's delegating the implementation to the JavaScript Pro Agent, which is in this particular project is a general purpose full stack developer for JavaScript, both backend and front ends. This become a quite large project at this point, but I still find that for this specific project, which is very UI intensive, having a full stack developer is the best approach. And you can see that the JavaScript Pro is already doing changes to the code. So it's running and adding stuff. It should be following the specification. Nope. There you go. You can see this was pretty fast. You can see that the feature already exists, and it just took us a couple of minutes to get this feature done. Of course, like this is not completed yet. You're going to see that the agent now is going to run the tests. He is going to call the code review agent to check, if the implementation is correct. We're going to run quality tests. We're going to wait for a bit more and see that in real time. But you can see the feature itself already popped up on the left. Okay, so we're checking, if we go into another customer here, we should get different outcomes here. So this is 6 Squared VC, annual revenue of 38 million. We can just look at another customer as well. 100 million revenue, 2,000 employees. This is information that is coming from the database, and it's actually coming from a feature that this platform has, which is the CRM sync. So from a feature perspective, it looks done. You can see now that the agent is running tests, and it's going to be running tests and type checks and linters. So it's going to be do a bunch of things, and then security review as well. That's one of the things I have on this list. So we'll let it go through the things. It's finding issues with the code it did, and then it's fixing those issues. You can see here now all errors fixed. So you can see now that he called the code reviewer, and the code reviewer is going to come up with some stuff. He's always comes up with some stuff, because the focus for the JavaScript Pro is basically get one version done, and then the code reviewer comes in and says, hey, you can improve this, that, and the other, and it just becomes a lot more focused. We're also running the security auditor, as you can see, for that feature. Both of them are now running in parallel, and they're going to come up with outcomes, and based on the outcomes, we're going to act immediately. And so keep in mind, I'm totally hands off. This is just running and it's coming up with results. Okay, so looks like the code review identifies some critical issues. This is actually going back and the agent is going back and fixing those issues. While I was waiting, I also noticed like you can see here that there's a bug here. So there's a message here that's not supposed to be here. This should be a tag just basically saying company size, but it seems like there's a bug there. So I'm gonna also feed it that bug and see what it does. I'm actually gonna put that right now in the business metrics card. Just gonna do it like this. This is a message that the the agent is going to get and understand, and it's probably going to add to the list of stuff it needs to do. Yeah, it's already working on that. I see the issue. There's a bug on the company size. Let me check how it's being rendered. Yeah, so it's already being fixed. Okay, so the workflow ended and we're ready for commit. All of the files were done. A couple of files were created, others were changed, and a security audit was approved. There was code review fixes that were applied. But we actually still have our bug here. So what I'm going to do is actually I take this opportunity and show, just like this, I'm going to just screenshot it and paste it here and let's see what it does. Because, my hypothesis is that it's going to fix the issue. Okay, so it correctly identified the issue just based on the screenshots and it did the code. So there we go. Now it's fixed. Company size, right? Okay. And that's it. That's how you push a feature with code review, security review done, translation, everything in just a couple of minutes. I hope you enjoyed it.